Well, we're live. I didn't see a countdown.
No, no, I took it out.
Oh, okay. I was like, waiting. All right. So we ready?
Hold on. It
Okay.
is, yeah, I think we're good.
Because I know we're always streaming.
So make sure we are in the right places.
Streaming. Oh shit.
Yep, we're good there. Let me look over here. Yep.
Yes. Bear with us, people. We're just trying to make sure we're in all the right spots so we can bring this correctly.
Ooh, all righty. This is episode number 26.
Damn, 26.
It's episode 26. Yeah.
All right. Are we ready to start the actual?
Yep, go
Yeah.
for it.
What up, what up, what up? Happy mother loving, whatever day you landed on this podcast today for us. It is Monday. Let's think about what mother loving day it is. And today we're going to talk about going from the grind to the divine, right? Redefining success in a fucked up economy. Now, Missy Sella, when I read that to you and you hear me say that, how would you interpret that? And anybody out there listening right now, I want you to think about that also.
How would I interpret that? Okay, so I actually have a long story that goes with this topic.
Oh,
Like the
perfect.
journey of my life has been the grind. It has been grinding. And I will tell you that the grind has, well, just a side note, it's not really a side note, it's an important part of my experience. I've been an entrepreneur and have been doing my own thing for 17 years.
Damn.
Yeah, so I've been on my own, but this perspective of grinding is actually comes from trauma response. It's a trauma response. And so I have an entire story that we can unpack for this episode because I've come to a realization that what we've been taught, especially as people of color, what
Yeah.
we've been taught is to grind. And if you don't succeed, and we're going to have to explore the word succeed too. What does success mean?
Oh, very, very, very much. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because you know what I mean when we discuss traditional, the American dream. You know what I mean, and then the shifting in time and the hustle culture and economic inequality and things of that nature, burnout. They dominate our society right now,
Yep.
and it's been going on for a long time. And this is stuff that we were taught. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And like when I define what success used to mean to me versus what it is now, it's crazy. So let's get to your story because like I'm excited to see where you go with this because you always have some really in-depth, meaningful shit when you tell your stories.
It's all my shit. Well, so what you just said right there, I think is pretty significant. You said that just the definition of what does success mean, and what a lot of us don't understand as people of color is that the system is not built to support us. And what the message we get from Jump is you work hard enough and you will accomplish your dreams. You can find success. Well, I know a lot of people in my family who busted their ass their entire lives, who worked every day, who did all the things that they needed to do. They weren't lazy people. They busted their ass and they still didn't get all the riches and the dreams, right? And
Yes.
so, growing up and I come from poverty. I come from, we were low income, and that was the story I was told. You work hard and you great things. And that perspective is built into the system. So that perspective, because I have I would say a similar perspective, but now it's rooted in my spirituality. So it's a different experience. So what did I do? I set off. I right when I left home, which was 18, I started working, and I started working hard. and with the intent to accomplish everything I had set out to do. I worked in my field. Let's see, my field of work. Um, I'm like over 30 years in now. And so at some point, I would say probably 13 years in, I started doing my own thing. I went off and started my own business, became an educational consultant. I traveled throughout the United States. I learned about manifestation, manifested a $5 million grant. I was able to do work that I really, really, I still love. Work that really impacts our society, our nation, because I was doing national work. And I will tell you that I learned how to grind like the best of them. I slept very little. I set out whatever goals I had, I set out and I accomplished them. Um, at some point in that grind, I earned, my 3 degrees. So I have a doctorate.
Ooh, Dr. Isella.
So what does success mean? Right? What is success? And so from an outside lens, yeah, all the boxes. I checked every single freaking box I set out to do. And I learned how to create miracles, really, truly. I learned how to manifest from the state of, I'm going to say, the intellectual way to manifest. I learned how to do that. And what I've also learned is that all of that time and energy that I put into the hustle and the grind was a trauma response.
And did it pay off? Like, are you rich as fuck? Like, can you swim in your money like fucking Mr. Scrooge McDuck? Like, you know what I mean? Like, was sleep really for the weak? Like, are you paid off for that? Like, are you like?
I will tell you that I have been able to do a lot of things and have been able to buy a lot of things if we're looking at success in that lens. I will also say that because I was so attached to this idea of hustling and grinding,
Mhm.
that I didn't make space for myself. And even though I've been on this spiritual journey for a really long time, I mean, that I started my personal development, my spiritual development many, many, many years ago, over 20 years ago.
Damn.
And I know I've been doing this stuff for a long time. But when I finally figured out that my work, even though, and I think this is really tricky because when we're passionate about what we do, when we're from our whole heart passionate, we show up and we show up loud and we show up proud and we do it because we love it. But that also means everything else falls by the wayside.
You know, I'm curious about that because I hear people talk about do your passion, right? Work
Right.
your passion. But is passion enough sometimes? Because I can do my job really passionately when I'm waiting tables, but that doesn't mean I love that shit. But I can still do it passionately, like I love it with all my life. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, there's times I come home, I'm like, fuck, what did I just do? I was there for 8 hours, busting my ass, doing my best to make people happy when they really don't give a fuck, or working for somebody that doesn't care about anything else but the bottom line and the dollars that are coming in. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So when we do it passionately, we can still get burnt out in
Oh,
that
yeah.
area. Because man, I
Yeah.
used to passionately sell drugs on the corner. You know what I mean? But you know what I'm saying? But was
Yeah.
it really passion for me, or was it because of the reward of the success? Because we are in the American dream, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there was things that were taught to me that I did that I thought was successful, and I passionately did them. But let me tell you, man, when I was in the streets doing that shit, it was scary,
Mm-hmm.
and I couldn't sleep at night sometimes. You know what I mean? So continue on, because we both are we both hustled hard, but in different realms, you know, and very
Yeah.
similar ones growing up, like very similar ones, but we kind of branched off. Like you've been in your spiritual journey for 20 plus years. And I think I started I've been on my spiritual journey probably my whole life. I just didn't recognize it until about 2017, 2018ish.
Yeah. So let's kind of explore this idea of success,
Yes.
because I think that also is a very the notion of success is deeply rooted in our values and our beliefs and our cultural experiences. So, Mark, when you think of the word success, what comes to mind for you?
Ballin'. You know what I mean? Like the rap videos. You know what I'm saying? Like gold chains and money in my pocket, a bunch of hoes. You know what I mean? That's how I used to define success. And that's what I worked so passionately for. You know what I mean? It's my duty to please the booty, you know? And so that was success for me. Success means I could buy all the shit that I want. I got nice shoes. I got nice clothes. I got fucking rims on my car. I got bumps in the trunk. You can hear me coming. You know what I mean? Like I got King Kong in the trunk and shit. You see what I'm saying? So to me, that was success,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And it didn't matter what I had to do in order to get it, because when people saw me roll up my shiny ass wheels, whoo, it made it worth it, even though I was dying inside. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Even though my life didn't belong to me, I seemed like I was successful.
Right.
But with that success came anxiety,
Mm.
right? With that success came sleepless nights in my bed by myself, thinking to myself, like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? And then I get up and do it again anyways. So to me, that was that's what I was taught success looked like. And I fucking achieved it.
Mm-hmm. And what does it look like for you now? What does success
Cool.
mean to you now?
Success means I'm on here being able to share this information with others. You know what I mean? I'm paving a way, a different way. I'm grateful that I went through that, because today, you want to know what I did today? It's Monday. Motherfuckers, you hate Mondays. Guess what? Today, I woke up when I wanted to, right? I went to the gym. I went and got some lunch. I got my hair cut. I got my eyebrows done. You know what I mean? I spent a lot of time by myself. I created some content, and I just prepared for this talk today. You
Mm-hmm.
know, most people right now are just getting off fucking work,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and they're like, what the fuck? Like, and they're stuck, like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? You know what I mean? I was in that grind. I was in that. But today, success looks like peace and quiet, working
Mm-hmm.
3 days a week, less than 40 hours, you know? Success to me looks like being able to have this conversation with like-minded individuals like Miss Dr. Isela. Like, I'm on the internet with a doctor that was hustling and got her PhD, right? So that's what success looks like to me. Is when I could wake up with a peace of mind and not have to hustle. Like I don't wake up like, oh shit, my alarm didn't go off. You know what I mean? I
Mm-hmm.
wake up like, oh, this feels fucking great. Even on
Mm-hmm.
the days that I do got to go punch a clock for somebody else, I take my time. I leave on time. I'm at work in the parking lot 30 minutes before I had to get into the store. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because success to me is being in harmony with my day on a day-to-day basis. Now, let me tell you, it doesn't always go fucking according to plan. But because I'm so successful in my personal health, I'm successful in my personal spirituality and my personal development and my emotional state, right? I got called a bitch at work like 2 days ago, right?
Why?
Because I was busy as fuck and I'm on the grind. You know what I mean? And I'm in this restaurant, I'm doing people. And if you never worked with the public, let me tell you, it is not the easiest thing to do. But even though I've done this work for like the last 8 years or so, man, when I heard that girl call me a bitch, I was like, bitch, I ain't your bitch. Right? Like I've done a lot of this work, but it instantly brought back like, ooh, you know what I mean? And I was like, fuck you. You don't talk to me like that. I don't know who you think you are, right? But you don't come in here and I am serving you, but that doesn't mean I have to allow you to talk to me like that. And for me to be able to say that without worrying about the repercussions, that's fucking success to me.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't allow this person to say anything. She didn't tip me, but guess what? You know what was better? That I gotta say, fuck you. You don't talk to me like that. It takes one to know one. Pay your bill and get the fuck out. You see?
Yes, Mark.
And but at the end of the day, to me, that's I did I pop off a little crazy? Yes, but I calmed myself down. I didn't allow it to eat me up throughout the whole day. I went along and I continued to help the rest of my people, right? And they're like, "Are you all right?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's cool." You know what I mean? It's just a moment. We got in there, and I didn't allow it to ruin my day. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
that's what success looks like to me now, because that could have spilled on over forever. You know,
Mhm.
I could allow that person, I could have been scared to lose my job in that moment, that I allowed somebody to step on me, because back
Mhm.
in the day I did. I've been in this business for a long time. Back then I would have just took it and been like, oh no, please give us your money. We need your service. We need your money in here. You know what I mean? But I didn't. I could have handled it better. Yes. And that's why we're having this conversation right now. You know? But man, there's some words that just come out and you're just like, what? This motherfucker just called me a bitch right now? Like, are you playing with me? So
Mhm.
success comes in a lot of different shapes and forms. And even though I slide sometimes, I get back on the horse and then we have these conversations and I do better next time.
Yeah. I think success, it is so deeply rooted in our beliefs, so deeply rooted in our cultural values, like the experiences that we've had from when we were very young. And so for me, success, growing up the way that I grew up in poverty, and just kind of even in the neighborhoods that we grew up in, the idea of having something more than that was how I that's what success was to me. So having a home, um, having, well, my grandmother, I'm just thinking about the house that she lived in was a home up in. And I would say probably into my teens, there were like literally holes in the ground on in the home. There were like holes that went to, the dirt underneath.
Damn.
And so I grew up seeing that. I grew up having experiences where, we're infested with roaches, and, there were rats and those kinds of experiences. And so I knew that I didn't want that experience. I also, I don't even know where this came from, but I had this very strong belief that success was education. So
Ooh.
that's what set off my whole trajectory of getting degrees. And so, right after high school, I went into college. And so in my mind, the more educated I became, the more successful I became. And then there's a process of sort of like the expectation of assimilation. And so what I mean by that is like the more more successful you become, the less culturally aligned you show up as. And so, what I mean by that is when you're sitting around a table of people, the expectation is for you to assimilate to the culture of the dominant culture sitting at the table. And so, if I'm sitting around a lot of white folks who are professionals, there is an undercurrent of expectation for me to speak in the same way, to behave in the same way, and to have a lens that aligns with that expectation. And so the further along you get on this path of success, the more you and I don't even know if it's conscious. It may be so unconscious. There's an expectation for you to behave a particular way that really asks you to set your cultural values and beliefs aside. And so for me, and going back to my family, it's like, why are you trying to be white?
We talked about this before, huh? Like, why are you
Yeah.
trying to be white?
Why,
It's
why
like,
are you trying to be white?
I'm not white,
Right.
I'm educated.
Yeah, and so there's a struggle in that, and so success looked like that for me growing up, and money obviously is a big part of that. Like, how much money do you have? What can you afford? um I never really got into the notion of like extend my reach. And what I mean by that is like I didn't ever live beyond my means. So I never did that. Um, but having money and being able to spend and do things that you want to do was a significant part of the way that I identified success.
Do you feel, oh, real quick, just because I know a lot of people think because they work so hard and they live beyond their means because they work so hard. They say things like, "Oh, I deserve this," even though they know that it's going to set them back a couple of paychecks. They still move forward and buy the thing.
So this is actually what I call poverty thinking, poverty mindset. And so what happens is a lot of us who didn't grow up, and that's most of us, we were not given any kind of support in understanding financial literacy, like how to manage money, how to delayed gratification, like how do you put money away for something that you, instead of getting your check and spending it, there's, we are not taught that, but that's part of the systemic issue, is that we don't have access to that information. Now that's changing. That's changing because of social media. My husband knows everything about stocks. Let me tell you, he knows everything about stocks. He watches YouTube videos. He has educated himself. He can teach people how to manage their money when it comes to long-term generational wealth. But that's because we have that accessible to us now. That information was not accessible to us. And so we grew up observing our family, like literally make money and spend it where, the money doesn't reach from paycheck to paycheck, and, or from pay period to pay period. And some of it is just because they didn't get paid, a lot. And we've got to feed 5 kids and we've got to figure out how to pay the rent and that sort of thing. But we have this poverty mentality where there's never enough, there won't be enough, and so I worked hard and I deserve this, and so I'm going to go spend $500 for a big ass TV, right?
Yeah, so you can waste all your Sunday away or your Thursday night watching people that are making millions of dollars
Yeah.
while you're broke.
And poverty is a mindset, and
Ooh.
that's the thing that I think, it has nothing to do with money. It has more to do with our relationship with money.
Ooh. Right. We weren't taught that,
We
it's like
weren't taught.
relationships in general. We weren't taught how to really nurture relationships with anybody,
Mhm.
and money is another one that really I'm learning as I go forward, because let me tell you, I don't make as much money as I used to when I was in the streets, right? But let me tell you, today I have so much more than I did back then.
Mhm.
That whole play hard, or work hard, play hard, blah, blah, blah bullshit. Easy come, easy go, and
Yeah.
that's how I kind of treated my money, because nobody taught me how to do that. Now, I know that things are available to us now because we have the internet, because people are being educated right now between me and you. Is it that it wasn't accessible back then, or did people just not show us the right places to look?
Mark, the system wasn't built for us. The people who knew about it were white men.
Okay.
That's who the system was built for. And so the rest of us were like, work hard, work hard. And if you didn't work hard enough, well, if you didn't accomplish whatever you set out to accomplish, you didn't work hard enough. That's on you. And so we really believed that. We really, really believed that. And in truth, we weren't taught financial literacy. We have a fucked up perspective of what success is, because success was about things. Success
Ooh.
was about accomplishments. Success was about, education. It was like, here is the system, and this is how you play within the system. And the problem with all of this, and I really believe this is where our educational system, and I come from education, I think it's built to keep us small, wanting, and uneducated.
Ooh, right. Imagine that. You're in an educational system that keeps you uneducated about life. Like, go get a job and work for that guy. He got a lot of
Yeah.
money over there. Go get in his company. So, what's missing in our society on the definition of joy and success and connection? What's missing there? Where do we start turning the corner in this area?
Well, I think that it has more to do with who we truly are than it is. It's like stepping away from the system, recognizing that the system really isn't built to support us, but also recognizing that when we're looking, and I don't like the term success these days. Like, I think it's so subjective. I think your definition and my definition are going to be completely different. So I don't even like the word success. I think what the big shift has to be the realization that everything that we are seeking, which is mostly abundance, love, happiness, and joy, and peace. So peace, joy, or happiness, love, and abundance is already inherently within us. It's already in each of us. But we've been taught to seek outside of ourselves for these things. And that's where the hustle culture comes from. It's like you have to work hard. You have to, you have to drive, drive, drive. You're lazy. You didn't pick that thing up and run with it. You were lazy because you didn't da 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 da. And so we create these ideas that if we don't put as much effort, then that's what we're going to get in return. And I've come to, in all of my experience in education and everything that I accomplished, because somebody said to me a long time ago, when I went into education, someone said, oh, teachers don't make a whole lot of money. And there was a woman, a colleague of mine and a mentor, she said to me, that's not true. She said, you can make as much money as you want to make in education. You just have to believe that you can. That stuck in my head and changed my whole trajectory of how I approached education. And so as a keynote speaker, as someone going out and providing training, just 1 hour with me is $2,500.
Whoo!
And so that, in education, people go, oh, there's no money in education. Well, no, people are paying me that in education.
Mhm.
And so this idea of, what are the limitations is what we hold on to, instead of taking a look at what actually can happen. What are the possibilities?
I think
So
when
I
people
think,
go ahead.
go ahead, Mark.
I think when people think that, they only think of traditional education and think there's only teachers,
Right.
right? Like that are teaching your kids like first grade, second grade, kindergarten, and up. So I think a lot of people think that education system stops right there. Like
Right.
that's it. But it's so much more than that, obviously, because here we are having this conversation and keynote speaker, 2,500 for 1 hour. Woo! Successful.
Well, and I think that, part of that was my grind, though.
Yeah.
And so what I've come to this awareness is that the success that I had been striving for, that I have been, running towards in every which direction, was never what I really wanted and needed. What I wanted and needed was to feel a sense of peace, to feel love, to feel connected, to feel my own sense of power. Like, those are the things that I was striving for. But the problem was, is I was seeking them outside of myself. So from a spiritual lens, all of the things that I just mentioned, I already am. I inherently already am all of those things. So I've come to this awareness that success is really aligning with that which I am. And so that vibrational frequency that aligns with that really comes from love.
And if anybody's listening right now, how can they start to unlearn, right, their worthiness and how it's tied to their productivity? Like, and what role did spirituality play in this development of you? Like, how did you, when was the time that you said, oh my gosh, like, okay, I checked all the boxes, but why do I still feel like this? Like, and can you
Mm.
take us through like how that played out and how somebody could start to unlearn and unfold and really get to know themselves and understand that like it's already in here?
You know, when I got my doctorate, that was a pivotal point for me, because it was the last thing that I had listed as my accomplishments that I wanted to to accomplish. Like that, I had written a list of things, and that was my last thing. And I remember feeling like, okay, once I get this, how many people live in that state, right? Once I get the house, once I get the relationship, once I get the car, once I get the education, then I will experience happiness and peace, and I'll be able to relax, and I'll be able to do all of these things. Really, in truth, we're just continuing the grind because we are trying to prove ourselves. We're trying to prove our worth to the world because somebody told us that we were unworthy. And we're trying to show up and be like, fuck you, I am worth this. See, I got 4 degrees. Fuck you, I am worth it. Look at my big old house.
Yes, look at my
Right?
J's. Yeah.
Yeah. Like that's what we're doing. And so when I got my doctorate, I'm going to, honest truth, my doctorate was a slap at my mom, who I don't have a relationship with. I haven't seen my mom in over 30 years. And it was like a big fuck you to her. It was like, see, you said to me that I could accomplish nothing without you. She said that to me. You will accomplish nothing without my money and to help me go to school and all of those things. And so when I got my doctorate, it was a big fuck you to her.
I just, in my head, I'm envisioning you just like bitch slapping her with it. Like, yeah, look at that. You got bitch smacked with a doctorate, fool.
So that was my driving force, because she had told me that I wasn't going to accomplish anything. She had told me that I was unworthy. She had told me all of these things. And so when I got my doctorate, it was like I expected some sort of miracle. So it was the fuck you. And then it was like, okay, now my work. Ta-da! And it was not a damn thing changed. And I will tell you that a lot of things changed in terms of, like, people regarding me as such. In education, it's a big deal for a lot of people. But in terms of, like, who I am in the quiet of my own space, right? Like just being with myself, not a damn thing changed. And so I realized that what I had been seeking had been within me all along, but somebody told me a lie. Someone told me the lie that if you work hard enough, if you grind hard enough, if you do all of the things, that you are going to feel good and you're going to feel happy and you're going to feel peace. And that was a lie.
Yeah, I believe that. I know that because I did it for so long, and even still today, like I notice a difference because there's a difference. Like I'm not saying I don't work as hard as I did back then, because when I'm in the restaurant, I am just as passionate or even more passionate about serving people, to make them happy, to make them smile, to bring joy to their life. You know what I mean? I'm not just working for the money anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I bust my ass. And I'm going and I'm doing this and I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, what's the difference now? Because at the end of the day, I understand that I'm there because I choose to be there. And I know when I'm done, like I have a bigger vision, right? And I think this is where my spirituality came in, because this is what helped me break free from the grind, right? Because I got into spirituality, I got into personal development, and my grind, right, mentality almost took over that part of my life also. You know what I mean? Like it followed me into this, oh, I got to learn this, I got to learn that. Oh, I got to do. And I was like still getting burnt out. And it took a few years to really reshape the way I think about the things, right? Because when you learn something new, you're like, oh man, you want to go tell the whole world and you want to just get better and better. And I was like, oh shit, I'm doing the same mother loving thing.
Right.
And that's where meeting people like you came in, because you helped me a lot at that time, because we're talking already 3 years ago when we started creating this. And even then I was still breaking away from the chains. Even though I had doing the work, I was still almost caught up in that bullshit. You know what I mean? So that's crazy.
I think it's important, you asked the question, like, how does somebody start this shift, right?
Yes.
And I think every single person has their own individual experiences of life. So there isn't a one way. And this is why working with coaches like Mark or myself, helping you identify what is it that's kind of getting in the way of you accessing your truth. And your truth is that you are always worthy. You are always worthy of abundance. You are always worthy of all the things that you want to. And I'm not saying that it's bad to have things. We want to live comfortably. And however you define that is completely up to you. There's nothing wrong with that. I think where we go wrong is that we start to identify ourselves with our possessions and with our accomplishments and even our relationships. And so that's where we go wrong. We start to lose an understanding that in truth we are love, we are peace, and we are happiness. So the way that we access that is really this is going to be hard for a lot of people. Start to spend time with yourself.
Oh no.
It's hard for people to do
And it's
this.
scary. That's why we watch binge watch Netflix shows. That's why we go on dates with motherfuckers we don't even like. That's why we have friends that we don't like. You know what I mean? That's why we work so damn hard all the time, because it's hard to be by ourselves. That was a tough one for me.
Yeah.
It was a tough one for me. But when you ask me today what a success look like for me, also, well, I don't know, what does joy look like for me, right? Because I think I'm looking for more joy and harmony in my life than success. I'm
Mm-hmm.
looking to put a smile on my face and just feel good in my body, and just to feel the weight of the world off of my shoulders. That's what joy is for me today. And now, when I have my days and I get off work, I decompressed. I
Mm-hmm.
think that was a really big one that helped me move forward in my life. I think that was the biggest factor in becoming the person I am today, was investing more time by myself. So if you're listening to this, right, one of the quickest ways to start breaking free from society's norms, from this bullshit cage that they placed you in, from this mentality that you got, invest time with yourself
Mm-hmm.
and pay attention to how you feel, to the things you think, and why you're thinking the things you think. You know what I mean? And start to form your own opinions about these things, and once you start changing your life in that way, when you insert yourself back into your workplace, because you had enough time with yourself, you'll understand yourself a little bit more. The people from the outside no longer have that big of an influence on you. And I think that was one of the biggest practices that I had, was investing time with myself and just deep thought and or journaling,
Mm-hmm.
because I already had it down. I used to write songs all the time, not realizing that that was my alone time and me getting my thoughts out onto paper.
So let's unpack that a little bit more, because you said something that was really important. You said that you're not really striving for success in the way that you had defined it before, but you are really looking for joy and happiness. So I want to unpack that a little bit, because I think this is the magic here. The magic is that when you align with joy, and when you align with even joy, peace, gratitude's a big one. When you align with those, and what I mean by alignment is when you access that within yourself. So when you're like, okay, I feel grateful for this experience that's happening in front of me. I'm so thankful I got to have coffee with my friend today, or I'm so thankful I got some time to walk outside and just be outside. Whatever that gratitude is for you, whatever brings you joy in that moment, and then having gratitude for that, what you're doing is you're actually raising of your vibrational frequency, because you're aligning with your all that is. You're aligning with your highest self, with the universe, with consciousness, whatever it is you want to call that all that is. You're aligning with that frequency. So when you align with that frequency, you naturally attract that frequency. And that's why, Mark, if just when you think about just the different times and periods of your life, there are probably situations that you would look at, and you would look through the lens of, this shit is happening to me, as opposed to, oh, what's the opportunity it's presenting to me? Because you do a lot of shadow work. And so in the shadow work, some shit would happen. And from, this victim consciousness, we're like, why is that shit happening? I can't believe I hustle and I do all this shit and this keeps happening. That's victim mentality. But when you start to recognize the power that you have in your perception of what it is you're experiencing, you start to realize, oh, I have a choice here. I have a choice. And in this choice, I can choose to see this as an opportunity for me to heal. I can see this as an opportunity for me to experience my emotions. I can see this as an opportunity for me to grow. And so just shifting that vibrationally, you shift. And the more you can shift into the state of alignment, the more good shit happens in your world. That's what it comes down to.
Yes, it does. And I like when we talk about the things that we used to want, I think that really that shifted for me because my dream boards went from things to how I want to feel, you
That's
know?
big.
Because like when you talk about you getting your bitch smack diploma, right?
Yeah.
When you talk
Mhm.
about that, you thought like the heavens were gonna open up and it was gonna be like the red carpet. It was gonna be like,
Yep.
yeah, you thought you were gonna be like Rocky on the top of the stairs, like,
Right.
but it didn't bring you that feeling, I think about the things that I've had in my life and the things that I thought were gonna make me feel like I was good, but they didn't, And I've started focusing on the feeling. Like when I look back at being called a bitch on Saturday,
Right.
and then I reacted quick and I kind of almost I dug deep into an unhealed part of myself that
Mhm.
snapped back. Right, I reacted versus respond.
Right.
But now I was able to talk about it, say, okay, what was this trying to teach me right here? Like, why did I allow an outside force, right, manipulate me into feeling small?
Mhm.
Okay, I have to shine a light on this.
Yep.
And because of my practices, because I told myself in that moment, like I might have hit a speed bump at that moment, but I was able to rebound a lot quicker because I thought to myself, oh shit, this vibration is gonna follow me into my next tables if I don't get a hold of this right now. Right?
Yep.
Breathe. Remember that it's okay, Mark. You fuck up. You're not perfect. And this is a teaching moment and you got to learn something. This is gift. Like, what is this trying to show me? Like, oh, why does this woman have to come into my section and be a bitch to me? Like, why does she have to do that? Oh, poor me. It's like, okay, well, maybe I was putting something off that I could do better next time. You know what I mean? Who knows? You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, I wanted to make sure that I left work feeling high vibrational again. You know what I mean? So I had to dig
Mhm.
deep and say, okay, I'm going to set this aside and I'm going to come back to it later. You know what I mean? Right now, these other folks are needing Mark to show up, the vibrational match that I want because I want to continue to make more money. Because if I would have allowed that shit to fuck me up, I would have probably made half the amount of money because my attitude and people tip, right? I've learned this that if I could help people feel emotionally amazing, they tip with their emotions. Yeah, if I can make them feel
Mhm.
joyful
Oh, yeah.
and inspired, more money comes out of their pockets. You know what I mean? Because that lady that
Mhm.
I told, fuck you, get the fuck out, she left me zero. You see what I'm
Mhm.
saying? But that didn't follow me. I shook that shit off and I got into the zone. And then the rest of the day was like good, you know?
Yeah. And that's hard. I want to just say it's really hard. I actually had I was witness to something that happened this morning at the grocery store. So I was at Winco, and this is a grocery store that people that you bag your own groceries. Okay, so the person is, the checker is doing the checking of the food, and then you are at the other end bagging groceries. Well, there was a couple that was in front of me, and they had a lot of stuff, and the conveyor belt just keeps pushing stuff, right? And the one of the one person, what do they call the people, Isella? He got upset because the conveyor belt was pretty much, pushing all of the food, and he went off on the woman. And he went off on her and then asked to talk to a manager. And so she just kind of froze, and you could just see, I could see kind of the expression on her face, just fear, right? That was just immediate fear. So she gets the manager. The manager comes out. The manager is talking with him and is apologetic. And what do you need? And I was watching the checker, and she was, there's that part in you that feels like, I didn't do anything wrong. because the manager's, listening and being very responsive to the customer. And she didn't do anything wrong. And so there was that part that I could just see where she wanted to defend herself, right? She wanted to say, I didn't say blah, 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 because he was saying, oh, she did this. And I was standing there waiting to see, okay, should I say something? Should I not say something? So he comes back and he's going to pay now. And she starts to engage him. And she goes, I'm really sorry. She said, are you still mad at me? And then they started to interact, and there ended up being problems with his payment. And so then the tables turned, right? Because there were problems with his payment. He was getting flustered, and then she was helping him. And it was really interesting how the dynamic shifted and the energy shifted between them. All that to say is that she could have been angry, she could have been whatever, but she wasn't. When he came back to make that payment, she was really trying to make amends. She was trying to, and I know, sometimes people do that because, it's scary when somebody's angry with you sometimes, especially if you're a people pleaser. Then you're like, oh my God, somebody's mad at me. I don't want them to be mad at me. So there could have been something playing along those lines. But when something like that happens, it could, and I don't know if it did or if it didn't, but I know in my own personal experience, that could ruin your whole day. Right. And it's what you were saying is like,
Definitely.
you were made the conscious decision. But here's what's incredible, Mark, is that what happens sometimes when we get triggered, if we are not able to really be reflective in that moment, going, okay, I'm feeling really overwhelmed. I know to take a deep breath, or I need to step back, or I need to go outside and just, take a couple deep breaths, or I need to reset my nervous system in whatever ways that you know how to do. What happens is when you start to use those strategies, you're able to let go of things, and you're also able to be reflective of them and go, what could I do differently? And that's what you're doing. What you just said, you're like, this for next time I will do this, or I've got to think about why she showed up for me. She maybe showed up for you to trigger you from a universal lens, like to trigger you to go, hey, Mark, this is something you still have to work on.
Yeah, definitely, because it could have been a lot worse too. Like I'm like as this guy's getting upset with the cashier that you're telling me a story, I'm thinking of all kinds of shit I would have been saying to him already, right? Especially when his card didn't go through. I'm like, oh, you didn't even got fucking money, you fuck. You know what I mean? Like, hell yeah, haha, you can't even cash out. You know what? Now unbag this shit, go put it back. You know what I mean? But
Right.
but
Right.
those are the things, and I think this is some way people that when you start when you're able to let go, I think that's a huge one. You touched on letting shit
Yeah.
go right then and right there, because maybe she just left and doesn't even care anymore. Like, and or maybe she can't let it go and she's telling her whole family about this story right now. You know what I mean? Maybe she's
Right.
gonna come across this episode and be like, this motherfucker. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think that's where I want to get to also, because how would we recommend people balancing their ambition, right? With their need for inner peace and joy.
I think ambition, and this is where I had it all wrong. My whole freaking career. I mean, and I did some good shit in education. Like I really, it's not like I wasted time. I didn't. I did amazing things in education, but where I got it wrong is that I believed that I was the one doing it all.
Ooh.
And what I understand now is that I am I am basically a channel. And it's not that I don't have ambition. I do. I have huge ambition, but I know that the way that this happens is with spirit. That spirit works through me. And I don't even know when or where I heard this, but it kind of struck me as like, holy shit. All things that are truly created, all things that are truly created are not created by you.
Wow.
They're not, it's coming through you. You've allowed it to show up, and you're like opening your heart and your mind for spirit to work through you. I was under the misunderstanding that it was me doing the work. And this is that second step from victim consciousness. It's this notion of I'm the one doing it. I'm the one changing my reality. I'm the one changing my experience of life. And it works. It works, and it's part of the progression. But it wasn't until I realized that true creation comes from my highest self. And when we align with that, with our ambition and our dreams and our goals, see, I believe that our dreams, ambition, and our goals, the things that bring us passion, like for you, Mark, it's your music, right? Like that just flows through you. You're not doing that alone. That's coming through you. And when we can figure out, for all of us, it's going to be something different. But when we can figure out how to move out the way and allow spirit to work through us, that desire, that ambition isn't just the persona. It's not just Isela. It's something greater that's saying, this is your purpose. Go do that. And once we align with that purpose, we don't need to grind anymore because it just comes.
It does just come, and that's one of those difficult ones that I lately, like, I think I had to get more clear and really get into my center space again, because a lot of the times I still want the things, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? When I'm thinking about the future and I'm getting these big goals and these audacious ideas, and then when it comes time to execute, it doesn't come so easily.
Mhm.
So recently, because of music, I love creating content. I love doing things of this nature. And it's been a while since we've stepped into this studio to go ahead and bring this out to the world again, you know? But I thought, I think there was a part of me that said, oh, we're bringing this into the world. And I kind of forgot that, no, I just turned this camera on. I got some ideas in my head and then I just let it come through me, you
Yeah.
know? And so recently, with music, I've been creating a lot of music again, a lot more content. And I thought that I had to do it all by myself. And I was stuck with my content for a long time. I said, wait a minute, Mark, check this out. There's a lot of tools that are out there nowadays. You don't have to do it all alone. And these ideas don't come from me anyways. Get in front of the
Mhm.
camera, turn it on, utilize the tools that are there, and just go for it. Holy shit balls. On Saturday,
Mhm.
no, yesterday, I created 9 videos,
Wow.
right? I edited like almost 8 of them. You know what I mean? And I was like, wow, where did this come from? Well, I was aligned, right? I
Yeah.
know it's going to bring people some stuff. I knew this is the message that got to come through me. I utilize tools because I tell myself, oh, I'm just going to make it up as I go. No, it's okay, Mark. You write music. You don't just freestyle every fucking song. You
Mhm.
create the script and you memorize it and you talk it. Well, now I have a teleprompter. It's still my
Mhm.
words, but I can just utilize it. So now instead of wasting time to shoot this video that might take me 20 minutes to memorize, I could do it in one take, you know?
Mhm.
Now I just got to get good at reading and not sounding like a robot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right,
Um,
right.
but even that process, it wasn't me. It was coming through me. And I just
Yeah.
utilized all the tools around me. I had to get off my high horse and try to be, you know what I mean? Like I'm actually doing this. No, it's not. So when I have clients sit down and be like, wow, thank you so much. You're fucking amazing. I don't know how you do this. I was like, well, it's really not me. It's coming through me. And I can't tell you what I said or how I motivated you because I was in a different zone. But in reality, you're the one that's putting in the work and you're making changes because you're listening and you're putting it into action. And the reason I'm sitting here right now is because, and it's stuff that comes off as Yoda-ish, as Jesus-ish, as like Buddha-esque, is because I get the fuck out the way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's key. So I started with the whole notion of victim consciousness, though everything's happening to me. And then we move into the next level, it's because of me. So now that's how I did my career. Like all of this has happened because of me. I changed my thoughts, I changed my life, I changed my experience, that's because of me. The next one is really it's a co-creation. That co-creation is it's happening in union, but then the highest level is it's happening as me. And so the as me part is that you realize that you have all the power. You have the power, you have the ability. And we don't have to worry so much as to how we're going to show up because we are divinely guided. And I'm just such a strong believer when I think back at all the times where I either manifested or just the right people show up for me. It's like, okay, the universe conspires for me. Like, really, and I don't have to grind. And I still get stuck in the grind. I still get stuck in the notion of grinding because it's a trauma response. It's like, I have to prove myself. I have to make sure that everything's perfect. It's a trauma response. And so I have to just notice when I'm starting to get back into the state of grind, because when we back out of it completely, there's an undercurrent of fear. It's the fear of not being good enough or being found out. I remember imposter syndrome when I was working on my doctorate. I kept thinking, oh, they're going to find out I know nothing. They're going to find out that I don't know how to do any of this.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's like when we start to get into the state of this true alignment. And as I said, I think the first step is learning how to be with yourself. Just learning how to be with yourself, not filling your life with things to do, but simply learning how to be. That is the very first step.
Yeah. And really, literally, people, if you're listening to this right now and you want to know how to be, set your timer for 2 minutes
Yeah,
and just
seriously.
go sit down and in silence. Just do it in silence, right?
Yep.
And then another step I would do is sit down for another 2 minutes and think about what is success to me, right? How did I look at it? What am I doing? Why am I busting my ass so hard and feel like I'm just spinning my wheels? And then feel into that.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? And then you'll start to get a perspective and you'll think to yourself, like, what the fuck? Why am I doing this? Right? Like, now I could go to work and be in a hostile environment, but I understand why I'm doing it now. I understand that it's a stepping stone for me to get to the next level, which is being a full-time coach,
Mm-hmm.
which is speaking on stage, which is creating more content and bringing podcasts like this to y'all.
Mm-hmm.
So you could hear our story and say, wow, a lot of amazing shit came through these people. I don't know what it was or what it is. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times you guys are going to be listening to this and be like, I don't know why I resonate with them so much. It's not us. It's the message that's coming through us. And
Right.
it comes through us. Same message. It just comes through two different channels. That's why I'm able to express differently. And Missy Sella is expressing differently. And we're
Mm-hmm.
on the same motherfucking topic.
Yep.
Whew. So, people, if you're listening to this right now, thank you for hanging out with us. I know I got some people that are on Facebook. Do we want to take some questions? Do you got time to take questions if they want to
Yeah.
take some out there? So, if you guys are listening right now, right, go ahead and ask us some questions. We'll stay on a little bit longer. I have no problem. But I want you guys to think about this. Success isn't about grinding until you break, right? It's about living a life that feels great, that brings you joy, that brings you happiness, whatever that is, you know? And because I could tell you, I know Missy Sella knows her doctorate degree didn't make her feel happy. You know what I mean? All the money that I was making didn't make me feel happy. You see what I'm saying? So I want you guys to just ponder on that a little bit.
Yeah. I think it's just a big lie. It's a big lie that we've been told. That once, do you know that people who are so significantly wealthy can also be the most miserable people alive? Like,
Yes,
that it doesn't bring things and prestige and education and all of the things that we've been told this is what makes you successful or worthy or amazing. Like, that was all a lie.
I know. When I think about when I was growing up, right, not knowing what I know now, but when I would see like actors like do some dumb shit, like they're so fucking rich, what are they unhappy about? You
Right.
know, like what the fuck? Is like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
And then now that I'm a little more mature, now I'm a little more elevated and I think differently and I could see things from a different space and I could feel into them. I'm like, oh shit, I get it. You
Hmm.
know, I could get it now. You know what I mean? So Monica says, I'm trying to learn how to learn more about myself and heal myself right now. Congratulations, Monica, because that's dope.
It is hard. I think, Monica, when you said I'm trying to learn how to do that now, that part now talking about when we were talking about learning to be with yourself. And I will tell you, I know a little bit about Monica. She's got lots of kids and she's very busy. If I'm wrong, tell me, Monica. But I think what happens is we fill our lives with things to do because it's easier to do that. Even though we're in the grind, it's easier to do that than to really just be with ourselves, because it's scary what might come up. Um, and I want to just kind of point out, Monica, on my end, I don't know if you can see this or not, but on my end, you put that comment. I'm trying to learn how to do that now at 5:55.
Oh, wow.
5:55 is transformation. It's that you're in a period of transformation. So I just want to point that out. That's an angel number.
So, yep, it came through you. You're hearing, you're listening, you're doing the work. Let's go. Well,
all right.
Thank you very much, people, for tuning in and rocking with us on another episode of Brown and Spiritual AF. And we will be back with another episode in 2 weeks? Those weeks. So once again, thank you very much. You guys have a great mother loving day. Love you.